Boards and booze, booze and boards, drink some beers, fight some hordes. Drank too much, forgot our swords, ran back home, filled our gourds, got drunk again, sang some chords. Boards and booze and boards, with Mickey and Jeb.
Wake up, Jeb!
What? Why are you waking me up, Mickey?
'Cause we're gonna waken the lair, Jeb.
Ah, okay. That's a fine reason to wake me up.
Who gets tired of these stupid intros?
And not people who laugh at us.
We are stretching. Yes, we are, because we're not funny.
Yeah, I'm
At
pretty
least
funny.
Jeb's not. Anyways.
Alright.
So, today's game is, if you watch the PAX review, one that we were both super stoked about.
Yep.
Called Wakening Lair. It's by Rather Dashing Games.
Rather Dashing.
Surprisingly, this was not a Kickstarter, and neither of us backed it.
We had no idea what this was until we walked up to the booth.
Until we walked up in the booth. If you watch the PAX review, you get to listen to us complain about waiting in line to play the game. You know, if none of that makes any sense and you want to know why we're laughing about it, go back and watch the PAX review. Anyways, Wakening Lair, Rather Dashing Games. Ages 14 plus, that might be a little bit high. 30 to 40 minutes, 2 to 6 players. This is a dungeon crawl type of game. What?
I said co-op, but I think you just kind of talked over me.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine.
All I did was say it was a dungeon crawl type of game.
I was going to say a co-op dungeon crawl.
And it is a dungeon, and it is pretty much a straight dungeon crawl type of game. There is no extra winner in it. You guys, you either all win together or you all lose together, and it is tough.
So don't let your buddies die.
Yeah, it is tough. We are on our...
Played it 3 times?
We have played it at least 3 times, and we have lost every time. And
there's one Mickey just... He'll tell everybody.
As a matter of fact, we're doing the intro after we actually did the playthrough that you will see. So if you put 2 and 2 together, guess what's going to happen in the gameplay? Anyways, it's tough, but it makes you want to come back for more.
Yeah.
So while we were at PAX, we're walking along. I see this. Jeb's like, "Oh gosh, there's a Mickey game," because he looks.
It's like we're walking between the booths, and then Mickey's like, right into the line.
It is. It is. This is artwork up my aisle. I got him to stay because it's dungeon crawl up his aisle, and so it is. It's very easy to learn. It's very easy to set up, etc., etc. Without going into too much detail, let's see if I can give you a designer on this bad boy. Mike Ritchie and Grant Wilson. We went over everything else, so unless Jeb has anything else to say about this, without me giving away too much extra, we are going to jump into components, and then we'll jump into mechanics. Unless you have more to say. So we're here with components of Wakening Lair. Since it's a kind of a, pretty simple, straightforward game, we're going to do this a little bit different. Instead of having everything out on the table, we are going to open the box for you.
Ooh, magnet box.
Yep, nice magnet box, which is, both of us really like. We like that thing.
Oh, I really like that too.
We have the characters over on the side here with some flavor, which is awesome. You have your handy dandy rulebook. Nice rulebook, and the rulebook is good, which is always a good thing. Nice pictures, blah blah blah. It's pretty easy to understand. Alright, so your components. Here, the thick cardboard is... Help me out, Jeb! Come on, man! What are these?
Am I supposed to be helping?
Yeah! Look, these are the big bads.
Yes,
all of the big bads. I used the Buffy term.
Oh.
Yeah. So anyways, these are the boss monsters. They're really... It's really awesome the way they did this. Each of them is different. They come out in zones. They're all different amounts to hit. They all have different abilities.
And they're die cut, so you can actually place the damage.
They're die cut. They're just really, really, really cool. Just a great mechanism. You have
the hero cards. Actually, just grab all those cards.
Right. Well, they're in order, sort of order. So you got all your hero cards.
Front and back are just different genders of the hero. Same effect.
Guy and girl. So pretty awesome. And you have, what is it? 8? Is it 8? 9?
3 of each.
1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 9 different heroes to choose from. You have your stack of monster cards. Right.
Oh, in the stack of monster cards, there is one card of the big bad awakens. It should be at the very top. There, the Monstrous Terror awakens.
Monstrous Terror.
So just keep that in mind. It's set up when you set up. We'll show you.
You have your treasure cards, which have weapons and abilities, and there are even some traps thrown in there, and a couple resurrection cards.
And what are those other cards down there, Mickey, that look like dungeon?
And these are the 12 cards that actually make up the dungeon.
They've got the type of the room it is, and then the spawn, the initial spawn up top.
Right. So if you're looking at the card like this, you have the icons that tell you what type of room it is, because that comes into play with your character abilities, and this large number at the top tells you how many monsters to spawn when this card flips over. Except for the first room. That doesn't happen.
And then next up are the 3 D6s,
which are just normal D6s. They are nice dice, but they're really kind of nothing special about them. Then you have your chips for
one for each of the different heroes. We said there were 9 heroes. There's 3 of each color, and then actually each hero has their own symbol. And that's on the color token that they are. So. And then the last thing that you have are the 2 cubes. There are the red cubes.
Damage.
And the white cube.
Effects.
Yep. And you just use those when necessary, which we'll talk about later.
Right. And that is 100% it for Wakening Lair component. So we are going to jump into setup and mechanics for you.
Okay, so for setup, the first thing you're going to do is shuffle the 12 dungeon room cards and lay them face down in a row.
Okay, again, the dungeon room cards are the ones with the door. They look like a dungeon door.
Yep.
Alright, so there's 12 of these. At this point in time, there's nothing extra, so right out of the box, use the 12, you shuffle them up, and then you just put them in a row. Can you see me, Jeb?
No, I can't.
No, you can't. Alright. Alright, so you're not going to be able to see all 12, but you get the idea. You're just putting them in a row so that all 12 are laid up. Okay? And we're going to pretend... Can you see this card, Jeff?
I can actually see all of them, so you did the perfect amount.
Alright, so we're going to pretend this is room 12, and we're going to pretend that this is room 1, even though 12 are not out there.
Pretend.
Yeah. Just get on the same page with me, people. Pretending.
Yep.
I know that this is not 12.
And then you want to leave space on the left and the right for monsters and traps and stuff. So just be aware of that. The next thing you're going to do is shuffle the 6 Monstrous Terror boards and randomly pick one of them.
So the Monstrous Terrors are just, they're like giant cardboard cutout or cardboard pieces of a room tile, except they're really big and they have monsters on the back. So you shuffle them up.
And then pick one of them and put it face down on top of room 12.
So again, pretending room 12.
Yep, and you return the rest of them to the box because they're not going to be used.
Alternatively, like if you want to make sure that you don't get somebody that you've already fought, either take the one that you already haven't fought or better yet, go pick something you want to fight.
Right. It's not too big of a restriction. So.
Right.
Next up, everybody is going to select a hero card and place the matching hero token on the lair entrance. We forgot to do one thing. The first, after you lay down the rooms, you flip the first room face up.
Not a big deal because nothing happens in the first room, so it's just face up.
Yep. So now everybody's going to pick their heroes. Mickey, you can give me whoever
Oh,
you
look
want.
at me with the arrow guy. And where's the paladin? Because Jeb is going to be a healer, whether he likes it or not.
So after you grab the heroes that you want, you can return the rest of them to the box, and then you're going to look for the hero tokens that match them. So Mickey's archer has like an arrow.
I am Sparrow Sure Shot, and like Jeb said, I have a green symbol with an arrow. Look at that. Found it. And then Jeb is Mardigan the Pure Heart, and he has like a sun symbol because he is a paladin. So he has
his sunny disposition.
Yeah, that's it.
And then you are going to place the hero tokens on the first room. Next up, you're going to shuffle the treasure cards and set them to one side so that people can grab them.
Treasure cards have, guess what? A treasure on the front of them, Jeb.
Ooh.
And pretty decent stack of cards. Doesn't really matter where you put them. Jeb and I like to put them up by here because for the most part, nothing populates up the top.
Alright, next up, you are going to take the monster cards and take out the Monstrous Terror Awakens card.
That comes out.
Take it out and then shuffle the rest of the monsters. And then you are going to count 8 of the monsters without looking at them.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Jeb?
Yep. And then you are going to shuffle the Monstrous Terror Awakens into those 8. And once you finish shuffling, you are going to put them on the bottom of the monster deck.
So now you don't know when he's coming out, right, Jeb?
I know he's within the bottom 9.
Yes, you do. So, and then we would probably just put this on the other side like we did with that.
And then lastly, you are going to put the damage and effect markers and the dice within range of everybody and decide who goes first. And you just kind of go around clockwise. So Mickey will be the first one to start. And that's everything for setup.
That is literally everything for setup. It doesn't get much quicker than that. Alright? Again, we're going to use this to show you the mechanics. We're going to use this condensed board, which I hope doesn't bite us in the butt because of the whole opening rooms and everything.
I'm just going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12.
Right. Okay. So I think it'll make sense because the tricky part is really more with the rooms and the heroes and the attacking and stuff like that. The rest of it isn't that bad. So we're set up and ready to play. So we're gonna go over the mechanics now, and then after that, you'll get to see a 3-player game of Wakening Lair.
Okay, so we're back with the gameplay of Wakening Lair. It's pretty simple on what happens. So on your turn, you are going to do 4 things. You're going to awaken a room, take your actions, gain or claim treasures, and then get attacked. So those are the 4 things that happen on your turn, and we're going to step through those one by one and show you what they mean.
Yep.
So first thing is awaken a room.
Okay, so at the beginning of all your turns, at least before the Monstrous Terror awakens, you take 2 dice, you roll them, and then you open up whatever room corresponds to the number that you rolled. So I got a 3 and a 1. 3 plus 1 equals 4. I start with the first room. 1, 2, 3, 4. This room flips over, and I populate it with monsters equal to the number on the card. So that would be 2.
1.
So I 1, 2. They made the cards very nice. They can slide right under, so you don't take up more room than it already takes. That room is populated. At this point, I now proceed with my action phase.
Just one quick note is if you roll a 12 when you're opening the room, the rulebook says to see the Monstrous Terror Awakens section, and we assume that means the Monstrous Terror Awakens.
Right.
So just keep that in mind. But after you roll for the room, next you are going to take your actions. On your turn you get 3 actions unless you have a card that adds to that. So Mickey, you've got 3 actions. What's your first one going to be?
Well, my 3 actions, I could either move or I could attack.
Or you can use an ability.
Or I can use an ability. So, I have an inherent ability that doesn't cost an action, which is nice, being a ranger. Basically, I can attack adjacent. But since there's not really anything going on in my room, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move. And so, to move, what I do is I'm like, okay, I'm going to move 1 into this room. Now, this room happens to be not opened yet, so if I move into it, I automatically open the room.
And populate it.
And populate it. So, I'll open that room. It has a 1, so it populates with 1 monster. I am now in this room.
Okay, quick sidebar. If there was no monster in this room, and there was no monster in this room, Mickey was there, how far could you move with your move action?
As long as there is nothing stopping me, I can move all the way up for 1 action. Meaning that as long as there is no monster or trap or anything else, there's a clear path, the move just costs 1. Okay? So if there was a monster here,
to get to the dire bats, it would
to get to this, it would be like 1 action, stop. 1, 2, because there's nothing here. That's 1 action. So 1 action, 1 action. Now I'm with the bats.
Right.
Okay. So hopefully that made sense. So as long as there's nothing in a room, you can cruise through it without having to stop.
Right. All right. So that's the move action. So next up, I guess since you don't have any items or an ability that says action, you can attack, right?
Yes, I can. Okay, so let's do the most basic attack. Alright, so I have a skeleton here. I look at my card. I have 2 attacks at this point in time. I have an attack with a target, and I have an attack with fire. There are no bonuses. Well, there is a bonus right now. I thought there was none. Alright, so
normally you would just roll 1 dice or 1 die for each symbol of the attack type that you're using. So if Mickey's using a target attack,
I roll 1 die.
He would only roll 1. If he had some kind of item that showed more target symbols, then he would roll a die for each of the target symbols showing.
And we'll get into that in a minute when we show you some of this stuff.
But currently, he only has 1.
Currently, I only have the 1 attack.
And he also has a fire attack, which is 1 die.
So here is what is probably the trickiest part of the game, if you can say there's something tricky. Okay, so there are 2 different types of bonuses that you can have in this game. All right, and they both trigger off your character's abilities, or as they were explained to Jeb and I when we were learning the game, your character's inherent DNA, which is these 2 symbols. So it's really not just DNA, it's also their attacks when they're starting out. So I have the target and the fire. And here's the important thing to remember. If you are in a room that matches either of these 2 symbols, just these 2 symbols, not symbols that you may acquire throughout the game, just the ones on your hero card, they will add +1 to all your rolls. So if I use a fire attack, or not if I use a fire attack, if I am in a fire room, I'm going to get a +1 to all my rolls.
Because there's a fire on his hero card.
On my hero card. If I am in a target room, this one, I am going to get a +1 to all my rolls because I'm in a target room. Period. End of story. Okay? We're going to get to the other part of special abilities with these in a minute. Okay, so back to attacking a monster. Alright, so when I start the game, I don't have any weapons, so I would pick one of these attacks, and it doesn't really matter what I pick. I'm going to pick a target one, and I look at this guy, and I'm like, okay, I only get one die because I only have one target, and I roll, but I do have a bonus because of this fire. I roll the die, and I get a 1. So because I get a +1 because of being in the fire room, actually I rolled a 2. Does the 2 meet or exceed the 5? No, it does not. So that would be an action. And then I would maybe roll again. Oh, look at that. I did roll a 5. I'm in this room. The 5 is really a 6. Is it enough to hit that? Yes, it is. So I would put a damage counter. It's fine. So I would place a damage. It's important to note that you have to do damage from the left of the monster to the right of the monster in order. So in the case of having a monster with multiple values, notice this monster, I'd have to get a 5 or greater, then I have to get a 4 or greater, and then it goes back to getting a 5 or greater to hit him. Alright? And I have to do that in order. It's very important that you do it in order because it sucks. Makes it difficult. Alright? So, let's pretend that I got lucky and I killed the monster. I rolled enough, I killed him. When I kill him, this gets discarded, and I immediately draw a treasure card. I'm going to go over treasure cards. Treasure cards have 2 different sides. They have what I will call an item or a artifact. I don't know what they call them in the book. If they even do call them anything, I forget.
I'll let you know. Equipped magic item or equipped weapon? So weapon or magic item?
So the right side of your card is a magic item and the left side of your card is a weapon. And here's how these work. When you get a treasure, you have three options.
I might want to move.
Alright. You can equip the weapon on the left side of your card, or you can equip the magic item on the right side of your card, or you can hold on to it in your backpack to give to somebody later on as long as you share the room with them. There's some important things to note about, this was actually a very good example.
Well, the first thing is once you equip it, you can't change what it is.
Yes.
So if you equip it as a weapon, it's staying a weapon.
That's very, very important. Yeah, you can't, you can get rid of it if you want,
right,
but then it's discarded, okay? So it's very important that you decide what you want to do with it from the very beginning. So here's some important stuff about equipping a weapon. When you equip a weapon, there are some components about the weapon. All the weapons have a color in the top left corner. If the color matches your color on your hero, you get that.
It's called a bonus attack type.
Bonus attack type.
The one under the colored ribbon is the bonus,
right,
but the one not under the ribbon is just an attack.
Right. So, the color does match. This is green and this is green, so I would get the bonus. If it wasn't, I wouldn't get the bonus, but I would still get this.
Right.
So what that means, if you're not following what I'm saying here, is that if I attach this weapon to this, I now have this light attack in my arsenal now.
Yep.
And with that light attack, I get a dice for this one and a dice for this one.
Yep. So
however, if we put that on Jeb's card here, Jeb does not match. He's not red, okay? So, he only gets a dice for that one. However, it would still be 2 dice because his character already has a light in there. So now when he does this attack, he would always get 2. This guy down here, hopefully this makes sense.
Always gets 2.
He would always get 2 also, only because he matches the bonus.
Right.
Alright? That's important to note. Let's look at another card real quick here. That is the best one of the best weapons that this guy can get. He matches with this, so he gets a dice there. He already has a dice from that target, and as Jeb stated earlier, you always get the inherent one from a weapon anyways. So this guy gets, because he already has it.
When he makes a target attack, he gets 3 dice.
He gets the bonus, and he gets that. So as long as he picks target dice when he's attacking, he's going to get to roll 3 from this point on. So that is how all that works. Let's take a look at, real quick, what a target would do for this guy. He doesn't match the color, so no bonus. He doesn't already have a target, so he's only going to get 1 die when performing a target attack. Now you might be saying, why would you ever want to do a target attack? Which we're going to talk about in just a second here, which is actually good because there are bats out. Hopefully you understand the +1s in a room if you have a matching symbol.
Right. So say it's Mickey's turn again now.
Yep.
So what are you going to do on your turn, Mickey?
I think I am going to move up and try to fight these bats.
So action 1 is?
Action 1 would be move there, because no monsters in here. I can move straight up a clear path.
Yep.
Alright, now I am going to attack one of these bats. Doesn't matter which one, although I do have to do the damage in order. So I'm going to pick this guy, and I'm going to pick a target attack. And notice that because I picked target attack, target, I'm going to get 3 dice. I'm going to roll the 3 dice. Notice I have no bonus in the room because the light symbol doesn't match either of the symbols on my hero card. I look at the bat, and I got really lucky this time.
Wow.
I rolled a 6. I rolled a 5. Both of those do a damage, and it's dead. Alright, hopefully I can be less lucky this time. Alright, so that was second action because moved, attacked. I'm going to roll again for my third action. And I cannot...
Change that 5 to a...
We are going to...
Change it to something that's not a 6.
We're going to change that to a 2.
Alright, so
that's my roll.
Yep.
Okay. Now here's the important part of
the
bat's
on the monster.
Weakness. The symbol on the monsters is their weakness, okay? So if I am using attack that has the monster's weakness, it gives me the ability to press on. Here's what press on means. I just rolled and I got a 6. So I will do a damage to the bat. The 3 doesn't do anything and the 2 doesn't do anything.
Normally that would just end your attack.
That's correct. However, since I do have the weakness, I can do what's called press on. That means since I hit, I can roll again with just like I'm doing a normal attack, and it's still part of my action that I am currently on.
Yep.
So if you remember, moved up here for 1 action, I killed this for 2 action, so I'm on my 3rd action, but it's not over yet because I at least hit him once, which allows me to press on. I'm going to roll again. Hopefully, I'll get a 5 or better.
Nope.
And I whiffed. So at this point, I got a 3, a 3, a 2. There's nothing that makes me get a 5. So my turn would be over as a hero. Right.
One last thing is if Mickey had made a fire attack against that bat, he would not be able to press on.
Right. So it would be silly of me to make a fire attack unless maybe I was hoping for the room bonus. But remember, I have a weapon on now, so you kind of want to try to get into the habit of declaring what attack you're using.
Yes.
It's obvious if I pick up 3 dice and roll them that it's the target attack, but it is important to note that I could use a fire attack and only roll 1 die. Oh, look at that, I got a 6. I can never roll that while we're playing.
So after Mickey does his actions, it's now the monster's turn to attack him back. And that is only monsters in the room that he is currently in.
Right, so if there was multiple in here, every single one of them is swinging at me, not just the ones that I attacked. Right. If I have performed an attack, and at the end of my turn, if I am still in that room, all the monsters are swinging back at me.
Which, really quick note, a room can have a maximum of 3 monsters.
3 monsters, that's correct. Well, there is an exception with the Monstrous Terror comes out, but for the most part, that's it. Now, how do you determine how the monster attacks? So you look at the monster, you look up at his hit point squares, and each hit point squares represents a dice that he can roll that is undamaged. He's damaged on this one, so this guy can roll 1. If this guy was in the room also, this guy gets to roll 2 dice. Alright, and the monsters go 1 at a time. Alright, so let's pretend this guy's in the room. He would roll his dice. He'd get a 3 and a 1. I would look over at my guy here, starting with the top spot, and I would say 4. Did the 3 or the 1, is it 4 or greater? No, it is not. I don't get hit. The bat's turn. He has a damage on one of his, so he only gets to roll 1 die. I will roll 1 die. I got a 5. 5 is greater than 4. That means I have to take a damage on my character. And that's how it works. You look at the number on your character card. They're all different.
That one, the Paladin, starts with a 6 up top and gets weaker as it goes down.
He actually gets weaker as it goes down. Your Barbarian type of people start with low numbers, but they get more and more angry. So by the time they get 1 hit point away from dying, they have to be hit by a 6. So it's a very unique mechanic, but that's how, hopefully, that makes sense on how these hit points work, because it works the same with the monsters too, sort of. You have to hit the target number or better to actually do a damage as a hero or as a monster. Okay?
Alright, so after the monsters attack, your turn is over, and now it's the next player's turn. And they do the exact same thing.
Yep.
They roll to open a room, they get their actions, and then monsters attack.
Yes.
And this just keeps going on and on until a certain card is drawn in the monster.
Until this guy actually wakes up.
Right.
Couple important things to note as you're rolling to awaken rooms. If you roll a room that is already open, as long as there aren't already 3 monsters in it, you put 1 more.
Yep.
Okay, regardless of what the number is on the card. Okay. As Jeb pointed out, if somebody rolls the double 6, this guy's waking up. We'll get into waking up in just a second. Keep in mind the bonuses on your room and the pressing on, and other than that, I think it's just a matter of noting what your heroes do.
So the Paladin actually has an action on his card, and it says, action, heal up to 1d6 damage. You may divide it among all heroes in the room, including yourself. So that is literally, he spends an action to do that.
Right. So the flip side of that is this ranger over here. He has an ability that's basically an inherent ability that doesn't cost him an action, but it says that he can attack from an adjacent room.
Right.
However, if he attacks from the adjacent room and he doesn't kill the monster moves down into his room and performs an attack at the end of his turn. Just that one monster. He doesn't, like, if he attacks into a room with 3 monsters, they don't all come down. It's just the one that he's trying to pluck off. Okay? So there's every hero has a different ability. Basically, you have to read the card to understand what they do. Okay?
Alright, so say it's later in the game and somebody draws the Monstrous Terror Awakens card.
So somebody's just flipped this card. Okay, so what happens?
So first thing, you are going to reveal the Monstrous Terror board and place it next to room 12 on the left side of the row where... Oh, it says opposite of the monsters, but I guess you kind of just do it whatever's easiest for you, right?
I guess because we've always been putting the monsters down the left side. So, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Alright, next up, you're going to flip over all the room cards that have not been awakened, including room 12.
Yep, so pretend that this is the game state of when we were at, remembering again that this is not a 12 room, but all of these would flip. And none of these would get monsters.
Right. Next thing, players no longer roll at the beginning of their turn to awaken rooms.
Makes sense, because guess what?
They're all open.
They're all open.
But the key is you're not spawning monsters either. And then at the end of each player's turn, the Monstrous Terror advances 1 room card towards the lair entrance. And any monsters, not including traps, in the same room as the Monstrous Terror will join it and move along with it.
Right.
And now there can be more than 3 monsters in a room.
Right. So, what that means is that, don't forget, this is at the end of every player's turn. This is not at the end of a round. So every single time somebody's done with their turn, this guy goes down. End of Jeb's turn, this guy goes down. End of Mickey's turn, this guy goes down. End of Jeb's turn, he moves again. However, guess what? There's monsters there. They come with him. Why is that important, Jeb?
Oh, because you have to defeat all the monsters in the room with the Monstrous Terror before you can hit them.
That's right.
But, really quick, he also brings heroes along with him.
Sorry, he brings him too.
Yep.
He drags everything with him except for traps.
Right.
Okay? So
like Mickey mentioned, the key thing is you have to defeat all monsters in his room before you can actually attack the boss.
Right. So strategy-wise, if you see him coming, if you can keep minions from piling up on him, you're going to actually have a chance to take him out. They're hard enough as it is, so keeping the minions away or taking care of them or whatever is kind of an important strategy.
Alright, when you are declaring an attack against him, you have to attack, or you pick which zone you're attacking.
Right. So all of the Monstrous Terrors have die-cut sections in them. We happen to pick the dragon here, but if I pick another one real quick, I can show you. This is Mudmuck. Alright, so the dragon has zone here, zone here, zone here, zone here, zone here, zone here. This guy has a zone here, zone here, zone here, zone here, zone here, zone here, zone here. So, like Jeb said, you have to pick a zone. Notice that they're usually numbered. This guy has zone 1, 2, and 3. The dragon has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
And those are usually related to their abilities.
Right. So it's interesting that even though this kind of looks like they're 2 separate zones, it's not. This is one big zone on this monster. Which is important to note, and it's actually one of the things that makes this game really cool with the boss monsters are these zones.
Yep. Because
the zones are basically, if you remember any of your video games like a Zelda or even a Mario where you had to hit the big boss multiple times or hit him in a different area before he dies. Same kind of concept with these monsters here. You have to take out the zones, usually in some particular manner, which will be described on the monster card itself.
And before we talk about attacking the monster, we should probably note that there's 2 symbols on the monster. There's the boss's weakness, and then the boss's immunity. And as you can guess, The weakness allows you to press on when you're making attacks.
Correct.
And the immunity, you can't use those kind of attacks against them.
So none of the other monsters, at least unless they end up putting them in some type of an expansion, only the Monstrous Terrors have these immunities. But let's say, for instance, this one right here, the Mudmuck, has an X through the axe. So that means anybody that has an axe type of attack, not going to work. Doesn't matter if you have a bonus, doesn't matter if you have 3 dice, doesn't matter if you have 10 dice. I don't care what you're rolling, it's not going to do damage to Mudmuck if it's an axe attack.
Please get Mudmuck off the board. I don't like 2 bosses on there.
Alright, there you go, Jim.
Too strong. Alright, so if you declare an attack against a Monstrous Terror, you're going to choose one of the zones. And when you choose one of the zones to attack, you kind of pretend like it's a monster. So if Mickey makes an attack against one zone and he's using attack that is the same as his weakness, then if he hits, he can press on to keep doing damage to that zone. If he finishes that zone off, he cannot press on and move to another zone. He has to spend another action.
And here's an interesting example. Since we showed you this earlier, we had one of his super weapons set up on him. But notice that it's a target attack, so I had the 3 dice. But if we look at the dragon, the target is crossed out on him. So this is his immunity. I can't use this attack with this hero on this. I mean, I can roll them all I want. It's never going to do any damage, though, which would be pretty dumb. So, if I was going to attack with this guy, the only thing I could do is use 1 die with the fire attack. I would probably declare the tail. It's the easiest thing to hit. Got a 6.
But since he used a fire attack and it's not Whiptail's weakness, which is poison, he can't press on.
Can't press on, but it can do a damage.
Right.
And since they're die cut, it's kind of nice. They go right in the slot there. It's kind of easy to get track of. And that's how you keep damage on all the monsters. You put cubes just like you would anything else, and make sure you understand how they work.
And one key thing to note is that the Monstrous Terror will not attack if there's other monsters in the room.
Right.
So if Mickey ends his turn here, only those monsters will attack him. But once they're gone and it's only the boss, then he performs his attack.
Which is important to note. I was just showing an example of how to attack, because normally I'd have to attack these guys first.
Right.
Right.
I just wanted to let them know, because if you make an attack on one of the small dudes and the boss is in there, the boss isn't going to hit you.
Right. Boss doesn't care about anything until all the minions are dead.
Right. That's pretty much it for gameplay. The way to win the game is if you beat the Monstrous Terror, and the way to lose the game is if a hero dies or the Monstrous Terror leaves the dungeon.
Right. So if gets all the way down here, it's the last turn, whoever's turn it is doesn't kill him, he gets to there, game over.
Yep. So that's everything for gameplay. We will be back with a 3-player game.
Yep.
And we'll see you then.
All right.